This next topic is kind of breaking news. When this episode comes out, the first episode of LeBron James and JJ Reddick's like Basketball Minds podcast will have dropped, and I'm excited for this. Like we've been clowning athletes for like having podcasts, especially being in season. But LeBron James, still one of the biggest artists, one of the biggest athletes in the world, is coming out with a podcast. That's how you
Yeah.
know the end is near. The end is near for Bronny.
I mean, I don't know. I think he sees that obviously his career is coming to an end. But he sees that so many guys can do it and play. I mean, we see Draymond Green do it. We saw Micah do it in the NFL. I think it's a great move for LeBron. I think that podcast is going to be some super intriguing stuff with him and JJ Reddick. Yeah, I'm just excited to hear what they can put together. And
I think it's going to be a very much.
I'm excited to see the side of LeBron too, because like we know how goofy LeBron can be. I want to see like what side of him this podcast brings out, because
because
like you said, it's a lot of analytic, like basketball.
I think
stuff.
it's going to be very basketball at X's and O's centric. Because as an avid LeBron hater, you can't knock the fact that he's probably has one of the best basketball minds that have ever lived. And so to see if he's able to articulate himself in a way that like artists and other athletes are going to be able to other athletes and the audience are going to be able to resonate with, is going to be amazing to watch. Because I don't honestly, I'm interested to see how long they keep this going. Like, is it going to be a thing where it's like they do it every single week? Is it going to be a thing where they drop it? Because so far, when they announced it's going to be a weekly podcast, right? I don't know how long it's going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if it stops after like 10 episodes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see, because like I said, I think LeBron sees that like other athletes do it, and he probably thinks, oh yeah, I can, close out a couple hours of my week to record a podcast with JJ and, put it out to the public like we do our recording. But I mean, it's completely different too. LeBron is playing basketball in the league, trying to make a playoff push. What's going to happen when he goes zero dark 30? Like, he can't be on the podcast talking X's and O's when he's in playoff mode. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think there's definitely some like hesitation to think that this is going to be like a long-term thing. But even if it's just 10 episodes or it is a continued thing, we're getting some awesome basketball content. Like that's all it comes down to, is we're getting one of the best basketball players. Actually, I will go off that ledge and say the best basketball player of all time, giving his beautiful mind on like what basketball is, what's happening in basketball. I can't wait, man. I'm ready. What's the name of the podcast? Because it should be JJ and the King.
Honestly, I would like to apologize to our YouTube viewing audience. I'd like to apologize to our audio listeners on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for the absolute glazing that Gage just did for LeBron. That was some nasty work. Like, Gage, I need you to get up. I need you to wipe your mouth. I need you to say thank you to your king, because that was some nasty ass shit you just fucking did,
bro.
JJ and the King. Shut up.
JJ and the King.
Shut the hell up, man.
The greatest basketball player of all time. There's no denying it anymore. I'm tired of hearing the old heads say it's Michael Jordan. Please,
we're not doing this. Not today. But I'm with you. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this stems from the podcast is called Mind the Game.
Oh yeah. They're cooking with that for sure.
Well, I think it's the big thing too is that, like, you remember a couple of weeks ago I made a TikTok about it, about how JJ was kind of fed up with like the whole like first take, hot take culture, and he had that get back and forth a little bit, kind of indirectly, with Nick Wright, where Nick Wright was basically like, "Well, you joined the space, and how are you going to act like this when you join the space?" And I 1,000% agree with him, because I agree with JJ's overall sentiment with first take and hot take culture, is that it's so black and white, and we're at a point now where it's been probably going on for a little over 15 years. It's so like exhausting because a lot of the topics aren't really new. a lot of the evidence and talking points aren't new at all. They're just rehash. But I'm with also Nick Wright when he says, you knew this when you joined. So don't join the
Yeah.
space. Don't take the benefits from it. Don't take the image and the look that it gives you and then completely shit on it. And I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if LeBron heard what JJ said and was like, all right, let's cook up something. I really wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see because especially for sports content, for basketball and football, I really like more of the unbiased, more people who are just enjoyers of the game, not really trying to like get off any narratives. That's why I like Kenny Beecham so much, King of the Fourth Quarter. Shout out him, man. Shout out Kenny. Kenny's the goat. One of the people who influenced me to like start doing this YouTube podcast stuff. Uh, he's always done a really good job of just like remaining neutral, looking at the game from a just like a fun. That's what sports is supposed to be. They're supposed to be fun. We can have these debates and we can have these arguments, but it doesn't always have to be just yelling at each other on live TV for 15 minutes with no like actual substance or evidence to back up your arguments.
I'm with you. I think it doesn't leave it but that's one of the biggest issues with first take culture. It doesn't leave a lot of room for nuance. Yeah. But I think this is a perfect example of like what Nick Wright was saying. It's like, all right, well, or a lot of people that support first take and hot take culture is like, all right, well, if you want to do this analytical, like holier than thou, you're better than us, let's do the smart people type podcast. Well, you have LeBron James. There is no excuse for this to fail. Like, let's see if you jump after it. Like, if this doesn't work, let's see if you try to jump back to first take. And that's what I'm looking to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because there's obviously a lot of money in the first take and all of the crazy opinions, crazy hot takes. But if JJ really thinks that this is the way to go, like you said, there's no excuse. He's got the biggest basketball player, the best basketball player of all time with him on a podcast. There's really no way that this should fail at attracting basketball fans. So I'm interested to see how it's going to like debut on YouTube. I think it's going to do crazy numbers if I had to guess, but
hey. I think the first episode, like I said, the first couple episodes are going to do crazy numbers because it's going to be like, oh my gosh, they're there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the new episode buzz. But episode 6, 7, I'm going to see if they still stick with it. I'm really going to see. Yeah. Let's see if LeBron isn't bored with it. Let's see if he's feeling fulfilled from it. Let's see if JJ's seeing like the monetary return that they probably invested. They probably put a bunch of money into this. So we'll see. We'll really see. Because it seems so. We haven't watched the first episode yet, like we said. And probably when this episode drops on Wednesday, the first episode would have already dropped. You guys will have your own opinions on it. But they seem to very much be hitting into the X's and O's analytical side, which is a different lane that I don't think former athletes really have tapped into. You have the Gilbert Arenases and the Jeff T. Jeff T's podcast is hilarious, by the way. That kind of delves in the lane of like they do some current
stories.
Yeah, they're very like into storytelling and talking about the current game. But I think because both their opinions about the current game, I guess that's the weird thing about talking about former athletes about the current game when they're not talking about X's and O's, is their opinions are trash. But I guess that's the big disconnect between like people like me and you who have not played and athletes who have played. It's like, yeah, they probably don't have more credence. They definitely have more credence to say what they say than us. But I just think a lot of their opinions are garbaggio. And I don't think LeBron. I'll be surprised if LeBron delves into that, talking about like current games and current topics, or if he's just going to stick to X's and O's basketball talks, or even if he'll get into storytelling, telling stories about him and stuff that's happened in his career.
Yeah, I was going to say you are a big LaShawn McCoy hater.
I'm a big hater. I'm a big hater of former athletes. I think I've come to terms with that. I'm a big hater of former athletes in this media space.
I don't know. I hope they format the podcast in a way where LeBron doesn't really have to put himself in that position to talk about other players in a negative light. Because I know that's not really his game either. I don't really think that's the way LeBron wants to handle things. Yeah, like you said, I think it's mostly just going to be X's and O's. I think they're just going to talk about, I'm sure they'll talk about the current NBA and like how things are being done, but it'll be more from a like I said, analytical standpoint, looking at it from, a strategic standpoint rather than, oh, this guy's really good or this guy's bad.
My thing, it's not bad that our athletes do that stuff. So like, don't take it as me saying that. What I'm saying is that I feel like sometimes it's just like low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I do think it takes a lot of courage. Like, I don't want to watch a podcast where there's no conflict. I don't want to watch a podcast where nobody gives their real opinions and aren't authentic. Like, it takes nuts to go on the internet or go in public and give your opinion, whether it's asked for or not. Like, it takes cojones, it takes balls.
Yeah.
I don't really respect content creators that just go up there and pander and be a bunch of panda bears and say whatever people want them to say.
Panda bears, that's crazy. That's
Panda bears.
actually tough. Panda bears.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to watch that shit. And do I think LeBron's probably gonna be like that in this podcast? Probably. That's why, as far as what I'm looking forward to LeBron, I want to hear LeBron talk about either X's and O's or give us some stories that nobody has heard before. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he'll give it up like that, but who knows? Maybe JJ will bring it out of him.
Yeah, hopefully. I think JJ is a good enough podcaster to do it. I'm interested to see how LeBron makes that transition into it. And like you said, we'll see how long they stick with it and if LeBron gets bored with it.